I'm putting this in the chat, or trying to, excuse me, technical difficulties. So they're up, so we're keeping the volume the same, been coming last couple weeks. We have more Romanian deadlifts this time and side plank hip dips, which we'll talk about shortly. But let's get moving. That's what we're here for, right? So let's just start with some cat cows. So finding your floor space. If you can't get your camera angle to match, don't worry about it. That's more just find a foot in floor space. All right, and then go ahead and allow the spine to bend and flex. I want to note for the record, you guys were tired this morning, not me. Okay. just so everybody knows. Once you have 10-ish, trying to keep this all within a range of motion that feels safe. We're going to alternate or move into our alternating bird dogs, picking up an opposite arm, maybe a leg. Sorry, picking up an opposite leg and maybe opposite arm, extend, and then repeat. Imagining if you had a glass of water in your low back, that water shouldn't spill. It's okay if it does. But it's not about how high my leg goes. It's about how much can I control my pelvis. 10 alternating bird dogs. Adding the arms in can be helpful, but it also definitely adds an element of balance and complexity as well.
Know what adds an element of complexity to this? Putting a strap on. Oh, a cord. Banded.
Banded from, where are you banded on this?
So I'm not doing it right now because I'm with you, but
Yeah, of course.
That's me banding the opposite hand. So doing like this.
Yeah. Oh, I
back sway and everything.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I was like, where would the band go? Got it.
On the foot and on the hand.
Oh, I see. So you wouldn't be alternating, you'd be doing right the same side.
Yeah.
For 10 total, I apologize, as opposed to 10 per side, if I wasn't clear on that. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're gonna have a seat. Feet are forward. Okay, so I'm just gonna, they're about shoulder width, hip width. I'm gonna drop my legs off to one side. I have one leg on the ground. So let's say the usual Maxine, yeah, feel free to, I know we do a lot of floor stuff. So if you're not near the floor, right. So just kind of gently, and if you need to lean back to accommodate this, that's fine. So from the side, as I switch back and forth, I actually have to lean back or else my back rounds. And that's fine. So if you're not doing this hands free, don't worry about it. Doing again, 10 total. If your heels are touching, you can just gently relax and sit onto the leg that the direction that you are moving. I will say, if you find yourself scooting, I find myself moving a lot with this one. I kind of move a few inches forward or backwards, depending on what I'm doing. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. Push-ups into a down dog, more of a yoga-y stretch thing. So ideally, right hands under the hips, shoulders, right? Assisted push-up is fine. The down dog is just meant to be a stretch. You can bend the knees, right? And then we're gonna repeat this for 8. Right, so just kind of even warming up out of the push-up is fine. Just seeing how hips, knees, shoulders, even if you plan on doing push-ups kind of without assistance today, treat this more as a warm-up than a workout style push-up. So in the chat, I posted what we're going to do. I'll also review it again. I'll review everything. But what I will say is, if you have weights, it is absolutely optional. I should say, weights are an option for some things. And if you don't have weights, even if they're not your dumbbell or traditional kettlebell, that's fine too. So I tried to separate them, right? So we have 4 sets of 8 single leg Romanian deadlifts. That's per leg. And then 10 side plank hip dips. So let's start with the hip dips, since that's probably either new slash one we haven't done, at least not in this programming before. So the side plank, it's in the name, right? You're on your elbows. The hip dip part is, I'm wearing the wrong shirt for this. I realize I'm like all billowy here, but so the side plank itself, I put my shoulders on top of my shoulders. This hand, do whatever you want with this hand. Hip over the shoulder. And then you can stagger your feet so they're not stacked. And I'm going to drop my bottom hip, then come back up. Bottom hip, come back up. If this is too much, drop the back knee. We can do the same thing. So I feel all on this like sort of line here. 10 reps per side. Let's try a few, not too many, before we get into anything. So just try, let's go 3 or 4 reps per direction. It's okay if you flip away from me, if you're facing your camera, that's fine. If this is causing any discomfort and not in a good way, let me know. Or kind of irritating any current limitations that you're working with. So that's a side plank hip dip, sort of a core slash, specifically on the bottom half, that bottom seam, right, as we're moving. The Romanian deadlift, single leg. Again, so last week we started to lift the leg, for those of you who were either following the recordings and or you can start to add a little bit of weight or both. So we're gonna come to a standing position. Sorry, my best to stay in camera here. So from here, right, I'm gonna stand on my left leg. I'll show you my legs mostly for this. So I'm standing on my left leg. My right leg is gonna start to just drag back. So from the side, my left hip is going back towards my couch in this case. I may want to lift the leg, perhaps. I can bend it if I want. And then I'm going to stand up, bring my feet back together. So we're doing 8 per side. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, 8 per side. If you want to add weight, you can. So this is where the dumbbell comes into play. I have a dumbbell in my right hand. I'm using my left leg. And I might, and this is my bad leg. We'll see what happens. Then I come back up. From the side, knee unlocked, hip goes back. So leg lifted and weight is an option. It might be one or the other. Okay. So if you prefer, unweighted is fine. Even carrying a water bottle is okay. Yeah, and having like a windowsill or like something to grab onto if you're feeling a little bit wobbly is totally fine. Let's do 8 reps per leg. You're going to notice there's a side that's less stable slash harder to do. When you're doing these, your torso, upper body, imagine you have a name tag. So, right, whether it says, right, Maxine, Carrie, Meg, Joseph, or Risa, and I want to see the top of the capital letter of your name. So when we're talking about this, I don't want to see rounding forward. You can't see my logo anymore for my name. I want to see a nice proud chest, even if it's a forward bend, as opposed to good. Yeah. It's the inverse of being an aero bars. How about that for anyone who has them? Yeah. Once you have your 8 reps, that's per leg, let's do those hip dips next. 10 per side. And like I said, you can take that bottom leg and bend the knee if you prefer. So if that hip dip's either too hard, right? So if this position is hard enough, maybe we just hold this, right? We hold this for 20-ish seconds, okay? If you want to do the hip dips, you can drop the bottom knee. So this leg is still straight, and just same thing. So I feel basically from my hip, I would say almost into my armpit, not in a bad way. And I like to have my hand on top of my hip so I don't rotate forward or rotate in. So I want my shoulders just remain stacked on top of themselves. Let's go ahead and do 10 reps per side. You can stack your feet like Meg has them, or you can stagger them so they're next to each other. That's more of a comfort thing. So whatever you find works best for you. Once you complete it, 10 per side, it's okay to rotate away / turn off your camera if you prefer for this one. We're gonna do that for 3 more sets for a total of 4. And you can do this from your elbow recite. You're doing a great job from the sort of, I guess, straight lever, long lever. Yeah. Good. So it's less about touching the floor and more reaching your hip back towards that bookcase, Joseph, instead. Yeah. I guess there is a yoga pose like that. I don't know what it's called, but yeah, reaching the hand forward is fine if that helps. I also see yoga pose I never figured out because I kept falling over. Good. Nice job. The hand in which you carry the weight is up to you. So Carrie, you're doing great. I like to do it opposite of my working leg. Some people prefer, and you're welcome to try this. So if I'm working left leg, right, working this guy, I prefer this way where it's opposite.
Yes.
This way. Both are great. It's a matter of taste, frankly. I've had clients who prefer it on the loaded leg. So in fact, if you have 2 dumbbells, you can use both. Sometimes
I
that
can never
feels
remember, so thank you for reminding me. And I have 2 here.
great.
So maybe
No,
let's go with 2.
absolutely. It's a matter of taste. So it's not a right or a wrong. It was just a matter of what you prefer in this case. And if you have 2, let's say you have 2 lighter dumbbells, right? For example, sometimes, say you have 10 pounds, and you're like, well, that's not quite enough. 2 tens is great, right? Or if you conversely have something bigger, like 20, and you're like, 2 20s are too many, then you can go back to that single version. Nice. Good. Just a slight difference in emphasis, but for our purposes, it's probably not huge. Obviously, remember what you prefer. That whatever leg you're standing on for your deadlifts, you want to keep that knee bent. I say just bent, not locked out. So that knee shouldn't be locked out. So the knee can bend when it needs to. Good. So these 4 sets can be done kind of on your own here. So at your own pace, I should say. For the hip dips, the bottom knee can be bent, or frankly, both, if you prefer. I just find that my knees stacking on top of each other can be. And it is okay if your hips do not touch the ground, for the record. It's not like you have to touch the ground with your hips on those side planks. Good. Start with the hip back and then, yeah, go. Nice. And like I said, if the hip dips are too much, a side plank hold, even with the knee bent, can help. There you go. Nice job. There you go. Yeah. And wobbling here is totally fine. I'm a big fan of we call problem solving, where the foot, knee, and ankle are kind of working together. Worst case scenario, just take a step, put your foot down. Okay. No need to fall over. Nice job. Nice, Teresa. Don't be afraid to bend your knee once you've kind of hit that I would say that hip back position kind of hits its peak. You can do a little bit knee bend. Yeah, there we go. Good. And it's okay if you slow down when you do that. You don't have to do these quickly. Sometimes speed actually is not your friend in this case. Good. So knee unlocked, good. Hip goes back, nice. Everyone looks great on the single leg deadlifts. If you find yourself having trouble balancing, totally fine. Turn your back foot or back foot down. So if you feel like your back foot is kicking out to the side, right? That's a sign that your hips are opening. So if you keep your hips square to the ground or square to wherever for surface you're on, that'll help keep you more balanced. Nice. Nice. Good work. And 8's a fair amount, right? 8 is a decent amount of volume, especially in one single set. So if you need to just shake it off, take a quick break. The other thing too is when you're doing this, think about breathing in as you're moving towards the floor and breathing out as you're standing up. So if you're kind of adding breath with motion, it's breathe in as you're sending your hips back, breathing out as you're squeezing your butt to stand. Good. Nice job. Good. Kind of waiting for, we'll see where everyone's at with their, I know it might be a little bit, some people a little faster, some people a bit slower. Go ahead and finish off those hip dips. And then if you finish, you can just kind of hang tight for a second. We can see how you're feeling. I will say this much. I'm going to go over the second part verbally and we'll go over it in a second. If any of it sounds like it might cause some discomfort or aggravate a current injury or range of motion issue, go ahead and let me know either in the chat or I can address it if you're comfortable, right, on screen. So we're going to do 4 total sets of 16 forward lunges. So we've done a lot of backward lunging. We're going to try forward. If that's causing some problems, we can adjust that, of course. I said goblet optional. So goblet just means carrying your weight, right? Like, carrying a weight. That's being said, you're welcome to add weight or not on this one. You're welcome to try with the first set of 16, and that's total. So that's 8 per leg. Without weight and see how you respond, and then maybe add weight on the second set. Forward lunges. Essentially, right, we're going to be standing as I step forward, right? I'm going to lunge back. You may or may not touch the ground. Mine's not. That's okay. I step back. So I'm pushing off the front foot, right? So we're going to repeat that, right? You can obviously alternate should you choose. 16 total or 8 per side. The half kneeling windmill, this one can be done with weight. If so, it does not need a whole lot, okay? I'm going to use my water bottle here. For example, this is just made to grab onto. So last time we did this, it looked something like this. Basically, I'm in a half kneeling, which just means I'm doing this, okay? That's half kneeling. And when I'm doing this back leg, my left leg, my butt cheek is squeezed. So I'm feeling tall. I'm not doing this, my hips back, okay? And my hand's above my head. So I'll do my best to stay in frame for this. I'm half kneeling, okay? My right leg's front. My right arm will have my weight. Can't really see it, but it's here. My wrist is over my shoulder. I'm gonna reach to the side, right? So my hip goes back, I'm looking at my weight, and then I come back up. So from the side again. Again, just made to grab onto. My right hip goes back, my right arm has weight in it. Touch, I come back. For those of you who are more flexible, maybe, or you have more shoulder range of motion, okay, you can start to reach towards the floor. Maybe, perhaps. If that is too much, a yoga block is great for this. You can put your up to a yoga block. But if I'm a little teapot's all you got going on, that's fine. Okay. The idea here, it's a bit of twofold. It's motor control. Can I rotate around a fixed object with my shoulder? The answer is no, that's okay. Stop when you need to stop. The reason grabbing even a water bottle helps here, you want the wrist to stay on top of the shoulder. So I don't want it to deviate from that position. So let's start with that one, just to practice. We're not going to do a ton, just 1 per side. Half kneeling. Let's all do this together. We'll do right leg forward first. So the left knee is on the ground, okay? I'll show you my upper body for this piece. From here, put your right hand above your head, so your right knee's in front. And your right hip is gonna go back behind you just a little bit to create space. And your left hand is gonna reach to the side like I'm a little teapot. And maybe you touch the ground with your palm, looking at your hands above your head, and then you come back to standing. Good. So you're gonna press up, carry the whole time. So don't let elbow bend on you. Look at that dumbbell above your head if you have one. Reach to the side. We come back up. Okay. So the elbow to the floor is not necessary. And Max, even keep your wrist above your shoulder. Yeah, good. Yeah. Sorry, Maxine, you're on mute.
Since I don't have that full range of motion in my
Yep.
left,
Yep.
if I'm just here, is that
Totally fine. Or whatever you can manage. So obviously maybe it's with no weight, or maybe again, just a water bottle. Just, I find something like grabbing something, even if it's just
yeah?
perfect, 2 or 3 pounds,
Okay.
whatever. Even just like
Okay.
physically grabbing something feels better. That's totally fine if you're not, if this is your full range of motion. Totally. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Even if you want, it could just be, the goal here is just to kind of get the shoulder to rotate. So even if you're unweighted, Maxine, maybe you're out here. If you have this range,
Yeah.
and you can let the shoulder rotate through this range,
Okay.
it's okay too. Yeah. So it might be, instead of this, it might be here. Yeah. That's an option. And that could be unweighted, of course, because you don't want your weight out to the side, unless it's really light. Any questions on the half kneeling windmills? I know they're a lot.
We're literally just putting our hand next to our thigh on the ground. That's it. We're not reaching. We're just kind of going straight down.
You can. I usually go off to the side. So from I know you can't see my upper body, but I usually kind of go just next to my knee.
Yeah.
On back. Yeah. I mean, you can reach farther. You don't need to. It depends how long your arms are. That'll change. Okay. Actually, let me sorry. Any more questions on the half kneeling windmills? Cool. We have our 10 push-ups. It's hand release today. That's going to be fun. Hand release is basically where you just lift the hands off the ground just the itty bittiest bit. So if a regular push-up, even with your knees, is plenty challenging, this is fine. A hand release push-up it's innocuous. It doesn't seem so bad until you do them. But whether you do your push-ups on the knees, right? So if you're doing it from your knees, it's fine. Squeeze your butt, come down, release the hands, come back up. Full push-up would be here. Press back up. Okay. So
your body definitely touches the ground.
body
correct?
touches the ground, but it doesn't relax on the ground.
I'm trying to fly. Got it.
You're trying to fly, but you're not like relaxing on the ground. Yeah. So the hard thing about a hand release push-up is you getting up out of the push-up. Normally we just come back out, right? But here, chest touches, thighs may touch, right? I have to release my hands and then retension my body to get back up again.
It's like
So-
swimming from a standing start, so you're not using any momentum. Yeah.
Precisely. Exactly. It's like a standing start. That's a great metaphor. So if you're ready, you may start the 16 forward lunge steps. You can alternate these lunge steps. You can add weight to these lunge steps. If forward is causing pain or discomfort, we can go backwards. Okay. Good. And again, back knee can touch the ground, but it does not have to touch the ground. You can find that balance first. Good. Just like the Romanian deadlifts, a single leg work, you can absolutely have a balance point. So if you need to hang on to something or have a workbench or a seat next to you to hang on to for these, that's fine. The distance of your step is going to vary from person to person, but I want something that feels good for you. If you have a big weight, Joseph, you can also change that. So 16 seems good, but if that gets a little spicy, you can change the volume.
That's 16 on each side or 8 on each side?
Total. So 8 per side.
Ah, okay. I'm just going for extra.
That's fine. Just a little bonus, just a little extra work. Nice, Joseph. Go ahead and keep the elbow straight. Even with the kettlebell, lock out the elbow. And if the rotation's limited, that's okay. Yeah, you can even, if you have a yoga block, you can go ahead and use a yoga block to touch if that range of motion is challenging. Good. All my kettlebells are downstairs, but if you want to try a different grip, if you want, you know how your kettlebell has a handle like this? If you put your hand in the corner of the kettlebell, I don't have one, sorry. It's downstairs in the garage. So where your thumb is facing you and it's on the back of your wrist. So the opposite. So I want the, yeah, there it is. Yeah. So yes, that. So yeah. So this way it sits on, and this might be more uncomfortable. You can go back to what you were doing before, but this way it sits here. So instead of in front of you, it's sitting like on between your bicep, your forearm. So as you press, if the weight is here, and I press, the weight's on the back of my wrist. So I'm neutral. So go ahead and make a fist. So knuckles are up. Yeah. So I know it's a dumbbell, but if this is that the bell is back here, I'm in the corner, and then I can over my head. Yeah, there you go. Now, if you hate that, you don't have to use it, but that's you can actually keep the hands open too. So you can have like an open grip because the way the kettlebell is designed, you don't have to physically grab it. If it's too heavy on the back of the wrist, go back to what you were doing before. Just wanted to give you another option. Good. And as good. And as you're leaning to the right, send that left hip back towards the wall to create some space. You have to rotate too much. Good.
Kirstie, did you want us to alternate sides on the lunge, or does it matter? You want us to stay on one side and then go to the other?
Good question. So for the lunges, just complete 16 reps. I mean, ideally you're doing 8 per leg, right?
But like all 8 on one side or alternating?
Good question. I didn't specify today.
Okay,
Usually
just double
do.
checking.
Yeah, so if you like an 8 right, 8 left, great. If you're like a right, left kind of guy, that's also great too.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so both are, in this case, the answer is yes to both. If I want it per leg, I'll say, non-alternating or alternating if I want to be more specific. Today I kind of left that window open a little bit. So you have 10 push-ups hand release. So you're gonna like all the way down. On the hand release push-ups, try and keep the toes down when the hands come up. Yeah, there we go. So don't get that extra extension of the back. So keep the toes down. Yeah, there you go. If this feels a little cranky on the rotator cuff with the shoulder, let me know. That gets a little more challenging. Nice, Maxine. Good. And this goes for everybody. This half kneeling windmill thing is a shoulder exercise as well as kind of a motor control, like how do I control my body in a weird shape? So if you're having trouble with that, or you need to take a weight out, shorten your range of motion, or work with what you have, that's fine. But go ahead and feel free to ask any questions that may come up with those. It's probably the weirdest one we're doing today, for sure. Everything else I think is within the scope we're familiar with. And usually with the happening windmills, if I'm doing it in a gym, I'll have people start with like 10 pounds. So.
Dean, are you up? Oh, dog. Sorry.
It's okay. You can go jog off.
Dog is whining. Sorry.
It's okay. We can't, well, if it makes you feel any better here, I can't hear the dog. So I think, I mean. So arm above the head, elbow stays straight. And if it helps, go ahead and look at your hand that's above your head. So you're kind of looking at it. Yeah, there you go. Good. Nice job. And if you're having trouble reaching the floor, and this is to anybody doing this, having a yoga block or a stack of books to touch instead is fine. So if you find that you can't reach sideways and rotate the shoulder, right? That's okay. Nice job. When you're doing your lunges, that front leg, you should see your knee, just a PSA, friendly PSA. On the front part of your lunge, as you step forward, knee, hip, ankle should be in line with each other. So not in, not super far out, should be in line. Knees over toes is fine as long as the foot is down, okay? Not the toe up or the heel up. At least not yet. I'm going to keep your wrist stacked. So you want to make a straight line on that half kneeling windmill from the top of your hand to through the shoulders to the opposite wrist. So you feel like you're making a diagonal line, right? Good. Good. So with that, Carrie, if you want, go ahead and look at either the weight or the hand that's above your head. So as you're reaching to the side, you're looking at that weight, and then you come back up. Good. Nice job. The half kneeling windmills will take a while, so let them take a while. It's also okay to rest within those 5 reps per side. If you need to drop the volume, make it 3 or even 2 to 3 reps per side. That's fine as well. So think of the total volume you want to complete. You're doing 4 sets, right? Divide whatever you want to do by 4, and that's how many you're going to do per set. I wouldn't exceed 5, at least not initially. Good. Good. Now I'll be more explicit, but resting as needed. So that's either between sets, between reps, right? Between reps and a movement. Resting to accommodate any fatigue you might be feeling. Nice job with hand release push-ups. Again, if a push-up from the knees or a regular push-up, I'll put that in heavy quotations, is hard enough, stick with a regular push-up. Hand release is just a little bit of extra something. Good. Nice job. Yep. So just think sideways versus rotating on that windmill. Yeah, there you go. Nice job with the lunges. You want that front shin vertical-ish. Nice, Meg. That's great. Nice job with the push-ups. Nice, Maxine. Yeah, there. Nice, Teresa. Good work. Nice carry. Nice job.
Okay, 2 observations, coach.
Yes.
I've worked still to do on the forward lunge steps till my knee is lower,
Yep.
but I would say since Christmas, my form has come a long way on those because I'm doing those in PT2, and
Yeah.
it was like there were a lot of cheats going on when I first started doing it, and I the balance and the you know, feeling strong and upright, and also getting the push off the front
Yeah.
leg coming back up, wasn't doing any of that before. So definitely feeling improvement there.
I'm glad to hear it. And like I said, sometimes forward steps, while useful in sport, because that's part of what you're doing, I found that when I hurt my knee, I'm not sure what I think you had some surgery stuff, but for me, it was like a patellar femoral syndrome. So it was like knee pain, like there. And it always hurt going forward. So reverse stepping actually gave me the option to load my hamstrings. So that was kind of my, besides all the single leggy stuff, was like, oh, I can start to lunge. And frankly, the back knee can touch the ground. I don't use that as a marker of like a full rep or a full range. What I like to think of in a lunge is, can I squeeze my whatever leg's behind me, the butt cheek on that hip, right? So extending that hip. So you might lunge and touch the ground, but this hip is almost closed. Now, there's nothing wrong with this, but can you do the same thing with the hip open, right?
Yeah,
So
and that's what my range was, is that I couldn't do it with upright, you know, with
Yeah.
a good upright body
Yeah.
posture. Because I was using the other hip to get up. You know, like I was cheating, and not, it wasn't mentally cheating, but my body was cheating it. And so that move was really, really hard for me a month ago.
I'm really glad. I'm glad to hear it's feeling stronger, even if it's not feeling like great. And I will say, I do want to reframe this term. And this is just in general, right? A lot of times in CrossFit, we'll have scaling, and people are like, I didn't do it as prescribed, like, therefore it's less than, where like it's cheating. Whereas honestly, your body is compensating, right? We didn't live this long for, like, we haven't lived this long in ever, like in our history, as far as we know. So when you hit 30, you're like, she's a goner, she's dead. She's 30, she's gonna die now. So when now that we're living to 80 or 90 or 100 or over 100, our bodies are taking more of a beating for a longer amount of time. So these little things, these compensations we're doing to accommodate a stiffness, an old injury, or whatever, catch up to us at an age where we're relatively young. This is your assistant coach. She's not very useful. What do you think?
Aretha and I have lived 2 lives then.
That's what I mean. So like your hips, knees, ankles, IT bands, whatever, have lived multiple lives compared to what they did a couple hundred years ago. And so I would consider, yes, these are short-term compensations your bodies are making. But if you recognize that it's happening, especially in these single leg exercises, we can start to address them. My win is I haven't back squatted over 135 pounds without knee pain in 4 years. I did that last week. I feel really good about it. So like it felt good to be like, I'm hitting now, albeit that was a weight I did for reps before this. But I was like, if I reframe this, this is not anything less. It's actually a win because I squatted better. It felt better and I had more control. So, you know, yes, I squatted 200 pounds prior to that, but I didn't do it this time, and that's okay. and I don't plan on doing it again. I did it once. I was like 200 club. We left. So it's just one of those things where, yeah, it's reframing it. It's a short-term compensation or maybe a long-term one that we're trying to change into a better pattern. Beautiful work today. Let's go ahead. We have about 5 minutes. I did this last time. If there's any, you can think quadrant of the body. I know hips were a popular one. Hips and low back, we'll kind of group those two things together. Anything that in your day-to-day life causes discomfort, or you want something to become a little bit easier, or you just find out you're a little bit stiff. Or is there anything that comes up for you during the day that you may want to address in the next 4 or 5 minutes with a stretch or a mobility piece? Or the same hips and low back? I'm getting a nod from Marisa, so I'm going to say yes from Marisa. Okay, cool.
I'd say a lot of the people on it, besides you and I on camera, spend a lot of time sitting at their desk on their day
Yeah,
job.
there.
So it probably combats that on a
Yeah,
week.
let's do it. So this can be done with a foam roller or without a foam roller. So if you don't have a foam roller, that's okay. If you have one, let's go snag it, see where it is. I'm going to show you both, so you're welcome to use both. She's going to help. What do you think, baby? This is a rare sighting, by the way. We don't get to see this often. Okay, so let me grab my phone while speaking on double. Okay, so we have our fancy foam roller. For those who don't have one, that's fine. We're going to roll out our quads a little bit. So we're going to roll out from, I would say, hip flexor to maybe the knee. We're going to do one leg at a time. Okay. If you can see me beyond the cat. Sorry about that. So basically, I'm on. Perfect. I am on, posting on my right leg. This is in my right hip. I'm going one at a time. I'm in a bit of a plank position, if you will. And I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I have weight on both elbows and my right knee. Okay. I'm going to breathe in through my nose and full exhale. Make sure that pressure feels safe. That's how you can tell. You can do a full inhale, exhale, and just gently start rolling up and down. So keep going to the top half of your leg for this. You can breathe in through your nose fully, exhale fully. You're doing just fine. If you want to get the bottom half of your leg, just start the foam roller in the middle of your leg. So same thing, big breath in. Make sure that pressure feels okay. And you can get this bottom half of your quads by starting the foam roller in the middle of your legs, right? As opposed to the hip. So let's make sure let's get at least a minute on each side. For my athletes, I think everyone here has a foam roller, but for anyone at home who doesn't have one, we can do this. Same idea, take that half kneeling position we just played with before, squeeze your butt, maybe lean forward, right? A gentle stretch here. I say gentle, again, the same, breathe in through the nose, exhale through the mouth is a final alternate. We're doing both legs. Once you have, well, actually, take your time, do both sides. I'm going to show you a cheeky one with the foam roller afterwards, just those little side piece, if you will. Basically, we have your inseam, right? So when if you're getting suit pants or something measured, the inseam of your pants, this inside line, it's called your adductor, adduction. This one gets pretty spicy. This can cause some tightness when we're squatting, the knee coming in, or just resistance sitting down to a lower seat. So we can take our same foam roller, and from here, I'm going to just go ahead and put this somewhere in the middle. So I'm here, same idea. I have weight on in this case, my right adductor here. My foot is down here. I'm going to take a big breath in and exhale, right? If I'm feeling okay, maybe I move the leg and extend the leg. Maybe, okay, pressure might be enough. So you want this kind of off to the side. The closer I get to my knee, the more I want to cry. So I'm in the middle. If you're feeling really fancy, and this is a big if, you can lift the foot Again, full inhale, full exhale. Again, if you just need to kind of put weight on it, that's all you need to do. Post squat day, this is killer. But it does help, I promise. So if you're not able to breathe in through your nose and exhale fully through your mouth, it's a little too hard. Put a little less weight on it. Put more weight on your elbows, put a little more weight on your back leg. And do me a favor, do both sides before you go. It is 7 o'clock, but don't leave yourself uneven. And she says, good job.